So, Deane, you guys are halfway through MAC play right now. How would you address this? What would you address the state of your roster and just where you are from a health standpoint and just from a progression standpoint?
Well, from a roster standpoint, we're, I guess, somewhat stable in that we, going into this next week, have the same players that we had last week. And so we'll count that as a positive for us. And I was certainly pleased to see the progress throughout the weekend. Played two good teams from the western half of our conference, and played a close one with Toledo. Had our chances, didn't capitalize on those, and then played really well against Ball State on Saturday. That was probably one of the better matches we've played in quite some time. And I think a big key of that was Steph getting used to playing on the right. It's only her second day playing on the right all year. And the first day she was okay. Second day I thought she was exceptional. And then Macy played at a high level as well. And so it was great to see both those kids individually make big steps of progress, and that transfers to our team as well.
Touching on Macy, has there been any kind of key to her turnaround here? Anything that you've noticed on film that she's doing a little bit better, or anything you've talked to her about?
There are a few small things, but I think it's mostly just her getting comfortable, just being here a little longer, getting used to everybody, feeling like this is she has the opportunity to captain the defense and lead. We've seen her play at high level before when she's playing club, and we've just been kind of waiting for her to kind of come out of her shell, so to speak, and really saw that this weekend. A couple of different opportunities came on Friday, and then on Saturday, I think throughout the match, she was really good. I mean, getting 27 digs in a 3-set match. But really just her leadership, her poise, all those things started to come out, and it was really great to see.
I know you said that after Friday's loss, it was a brutal loss for you guys, that you kind of sat in your office for a while to try to just digest what had happened. How hard is it to bounce back from a loss like that the way you did on Saturday?
I think it really varies from person to person. I mean, some people, we tell everybody, win or lose, you have until midnight, and enjoy it or be upset about it, but you have until midnight. And it was probably good. So I'm in the assistant coach's office talking for a little bit before I go to my office, and knowing I was going to need to be there for a little bit. And before I left, Ty, who's been with us 4 years as a manager, knows me pretty well. He said, "Deane, just remember, midnight." Good call, Ty. So I mean, it's true for all of us. It is tough when you lose one that you feel like you had those opportunities, but it's about not getting too high or too low. And I think our team did a good job of that. We came back in the locker room the next day, and I just asked them a quick question. It's like, "Guys, are we ready to move on? Are we good?" And they're like, "Yep." That was it. And then we started talking about the scouting report like we normally do, and they were focused. I could tell immediately when I started asking questions about the scouting report, what they had retained from earlier in the week. They knew it well, and that to me tells me they were ready to move on. And then it showed. We played a really good first set, and I didn't know if we were going to win the first set or not. We were trailing most of the first set, but I just felt like we were playing really good volleyball. And I remember thinking, just win or lose, this is so much better. Even while we were slightly behind in the first set, we were playing better than we had at any point during Toledo's match. And then, of course, we were able to kind of eke that one out at the end. Came from behind. I don't remember if Lizzie had a serving run or somebody, but able to get that win, and then really played at a high level the last two sets.
Obviously, there's still a ways to go in your journey this season, but can a season like this, where you're encountering so much adversity and you've had to make so many changes and kind of adjust on the fly, are these seasons can they be more rewarding from the standpoint of you get to watch people grow and develop, whereas if you're dealing with a team that's kind of like totally healthy, firing on all cylinders, makes your job a little bit easier, I would imagine.
It's interesting in some ways, and maybe I'm masochistic in saying this, but in some ways it's a little more enjoyable when it's tougher. And I'm not saying you enjoy every minute of it. There's plenty of moments that you're just like, you're so frustrated by it, but I love the challenge of it. And I'm not saying I want to live this exact challenge very often. This is more injuries than we should ever have in a year, but I think it makes tougher kids going through this. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's enjoyable in a different way. Back up a few years ago, and we're going 16-0 in conference, and we're healthy pretty much the whole year and all of that. That's fun in its own way, but I am enjoying the grind, enjoying the challenge, and enjoying seeing kids step up in different ways. I mean, I think I know we're hard to scout because no one knows from week to week who's going to be on the court. No one knows if they are on the court what position they're going to be playing. And I mean, we've changed a lot, but I think it makes for better all-around volleyball players. Steph was a setter, and then she hit on the left, and now she hit on the right this last weekend. Carly has now in her college career played all 3 front row positions. Tia wasn't supposed to play. She ends up playing 6 rotation, playing back row. I mean, all these things that have happened just makes you better as a volleyball player. And so I think that definitely helps us down the road, having long matches. This Saturday when we played a 3-set match, that was the first time we played a 3-set match since we played Penn State. And so it'd been a month since we'd had a quote, short match. And so I'm glad we're playing longer matches because we're getting better. Every time we're out there, it's a chance to get better. As long as we look at that, regardless of how challenging it may be or the different circumstances we're facing this year, we're improving. And I'm really happy with the direction that we're headed.
How big is it to have a player like Steph who has been so willing to kind of accept her role? I mean, it was tough on her being demoted from starting setter after last year to not playing, to now you're asking her to play on the outside because you're so thin there. What does it say about her character just as a person and as a player that she's kind of embraced this challenge and is kind of thriving in it now?
Yeah, she's a team player. I mean, that's her nature. And I think a lot of kids, when it comes down to it, they want to play. And even if it's not your preferred position, as long as they get out there, for the most part, kids are okay with that. But I think I was really, really happy for Steph on Saturday, just because she's had some challenges throughout our time here. You come in and your first year, that Abby kid's pretty good, probably not going to play. So the next year, you end up being the starting setter for most of the year, but following one of the better setters that's ever come through our program. That's not easy, and had some challenges along the way. And then I think part of the challenge she had is some of her time was spent training on the opposite or hitting on the right. Some was spent training as setter, and it almost seems like she just kept missing the moments. She trained exclusively on the right her freshman year because we had Abby setting and Aubrey setting, and so we didn't really need a third setter to get those reps. Then the next year, she ends up becoming our starting setter, and so trains exclusively as a setter and doesn't do any hitting or very little hitting. And then it comes back into this year, we need her to hit. And so it's just one of those, maybe you can say, jack of all trades, master of none has been the frustration, but now we're seeing the other side of that. Is jack of all trades has now become, you're good at a lot of things. And now you get into this situation that we need you, and she's going up and up and up. She was doing that on the outside, moved to the right, immediately became much more comfortable on the right than she ever was on the left. We saw her during the week of practice. I'm happy for her what happened on Saturday, but I'm not surprised by what happened on Saturday because we saw that in practice throughout the week. We're like, whoa, this is very different when she's playing on the right. And there are a lot of kids aren't like that. A lot of kids are good on the left, but you move to the right, and for whatever reason, for right-handed players, when you have to wait for the ball to go across your body, not very comfortable. She's the exact opposite. She likes how that feels very comfortable to her, and she can hit more shots, more angles there than she could on the left. And so I'm so happy for her because whether things have been going well for her or things have been going poorly for her, she's always worked. She's always had really good work ethic, good attitude, and so those are the kids. I mean, you want everyone to succeed, but you really, really want those kids that work hard to get the payoff for it, and so I'm really happy for her.
I got a 3-part question for you now.
Go for it.
Is the Hylas back and cleared to play now? I've heard that she is now able to practice, and if so, can we expect to see her at all this year? And if not, what will you kind of have her? What's kind of the plan for her moving forward?
Yeah, she is cleared. She was cleared Friday. Can you expect to see her? Yes, if you come to practice. And what's the plan going forward? The plan is to redshirt, and then that's been the case since. She did her ACL in January. If it was a quick rehab, then she would have played this year, and then T would have redshirted. That was the original plan. But then when it became an extended rehab, we're not going to ask a kid to burn a year of their eligibility for, just a few weeks. I mean, she not only has to get back into what is happening, she has to, as a freshman, learn how to play college volleyball, which is very different than playing high school and club volleyball. So we're excited that she's clear. We're happy for her. We'll start easing her in. We're not going to throw her right into practice right away. She start getting reps just one-on-one with our setter, reps one-on-one with Rodney working on blocking. And it'll be, I would guess, a couple of weeks before you really ease her in. We have to talk to our trainers and just have a plan, kind of a return to play. We're not just going to throw her out there. That's just not a good idea. She has to work to get some muscle back. There's some other things that she's cleared, but not all the way where she would want to be. But believe me, we're as excited as anyone. Maybe not as excited as Tyler because it's she's the person that had the injury, but we're awfully excited to get her back. Just a kid as athletic as that. I mean, 5'11", touching 10'6". You don't see a lot of those kids come through your program, and just to watch her start her journey to what should be a good career, we're looking forward to that.
This is going to be an important weekend for you guys. You got Western Michigan and Northern Illinois, and those are Western Michigan start out conference play really hot. Northern Illinois is getting hot. What are the challenges that you're going to face?
I would say most years this is the toughest road trip, and I don't know if this year it is or it's not. Well, I guess we'll wait and see. But those are two good teams coached by veteran coaches that are in the MAC and had success for a long period of time, and they have maybe some different styles, but two very, very good teams. And so I think going in, serving is going to be, it's always important, but it will be incredibly important this weekend because Western Michigan, they like to run a lot of slides, coming behind the setter. And then NIU, they like to do different combo plays and go really fast to the outside and involve a middle in that. And so it's going to be very important we get them out of system. But they're really good teams, and if we can find a way to win both this weekend, that'd be an exceptional weekend for us.
So you just touched on winning both this weekend, and I asked you Saturday night, but then now that you've gotten to look at the film and everything, what are you guys going to need to do to get to 2-0 on a weekend rather than splitting like you have the last 4 weekends?
Well, I'd love to tell you I've had this epiphany of thought in the last 48 hours since we last spoke, but it's just about being consistent and about having prolonged focus. We played well enough to win the match Friday night, but lost focus at critical points, late in a set earlier in the match and then in the fifth set. And that's not taking anything away from Toledo. They earned the win, and they were better than us that night. But I think that's something that we have to learn from and make sure that we can have prolonged focus and not just be good in spurts. And I was really pleased with that Saturday. There were ample opportunities on Saturday to relax. You go up, you win the first set in a close one. You win the second set, you're feeling like you're just coasting. Easy to come out in the third set and just relax. And before you know it, we're in a fifth set match, which we normally play against Ball State. And so I was impressed by our team that they were able to have that level of focus, and that's something that we'll be certainly encouraging our team to continue as we go into this weekend.
And then I saw that Allie didn't play at all this weekend. What's the status on her as regarding this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, we don't know as of yet. We're waiting to get back some results of some testing, and whenever we have that, we'll work with our trainers and talk to them about what is best for Allie, and we'll make a decision at that point.
And then just kind of going off of that, she started to find a groove when she entered conference play, and now she's injured. What do you kind of tell her at this point in this season?
Well, we don't really know anything yet until we get results medically. We can't really worry about planning this or thinking that we just have to wait at this point. And then at that point, once we know something, then we'll just address it accordingly. We don't know yet, and we hope for her obviously that she's healthy enough to play, because you want every senior to be able to contribute in their senior year and not in the year not being cleared to play. That's just a tough way to kind of go out. So I'm hoping for her that happens. Like I said, we should know something. I would guess in the next 48 hours. I would think we should be able to make a decision at that point, and then if she is cleared, then of course we have to make a decision how we handle that from there, because and that's the nature of all sports. When someone goes out, someone else comes in. If they come in and perform poorly, then it makes for a pretty easy decision. But if they come in and perform well, then it makes things a little more challenging. And again, that's true in every sport. It happens as frequently as, my daughter's had that happen to her, in her high school career even. That's a pretty normal thing. When you go out, you have to come back, and then you kind of come back into a different situation than you leave sometimes. And so we have to balance several things. We have to balance how's Allie playing with how Steph is playing, and is Steph going to keep going up like this the more days she plays? There's just a lot of things that we have to weigh when it comes to making that decision.
And then you talked about communication, keeping focus, but you guys have now defeated Miami, the favorite on one side of the MAC, Ball State, the favorite on the other side of the MAC. How do you keep your team, level going into these next 2 weekends, not to get too high, but also if something goes wrong, not to get too low?
Right. Well, I don't think we're in any danger of being too high at this point. We had a good match, and we're happy about that. but it's one good match, so let's not go crazy. We did hit at a high percentage, and that was one of my goals this weekend. I just really felt going to the weekend, our passing had improved so much in the last few weeks, and just seeing it in the practice gym. Like one of these matches this weekend, we have to be over 250, 270, somewhere in there. I think we're able to do that now. We haven't done that in a long time. I think since probably opening weekend, and then we did. We had 278 against Ball State. So for us, it's not so much about where am I getting too high or too low. It's about can we take what's going well and can we start building on that. It's true. It's tangible. It's something that Ball State is a good team. Okay, it's not a team that we just came in and we hit 280 because they weren't very good. Ball State is good, and so the 278 is real. Holding them to whatever we held them, 160 or so. That was, again, partly our serving, partly Macy having a really good day and starting to grow, partly Steph blocking on the right, blocking over a ball per set. I mean, there are several things that went into that, but for me, it's about can we just get better? And we're a long way from worrying about getting too high. We're sitting right in the middle of the conference, and we're 4-4 right now. The conference tournament were to start right now, I think we'd be tied for 6th, which is obviously very low by our standards. So we have a lot of work to do to be in that, first to get in the tournament, and then to think about seeding and what that might look like down the road. But again, I'm just happy with our progress and where we're headed right now.